I bought Bitcoin on a Friday. By the following Friday, it was down 30%. 7 days, 30%, gone. And I genuinely thought I had made a mistake. I want to tell you what that week actually felt like from the inside, because nobody warned me. And if you are thinking about buying Bitcoin, or if you just did, this is the part most people skip. I'm Sats, and this is the week that almost made me quit before I had even started. Let me tell you exactly how that week unfolded, day by day, because I think the specifics matter more than the general idea. Friday, I bought. The price was doing well. I had been waiting for the right moment, and it felt like this was it. I sent the money, watched the Bitcoin arrive in my wallet, and felt something close to excitement. I had finally done it. I was in. Saturday, the price dipped slightly, a few percent. I checked it a couple of times, told myself this was normal, and went about my weekend. Sunday, it dropped more. Still not dramatically. I read a few articles, mixed signals. I went to bed slightly uneasy, but not alarmed. Monday, it fell sharply, enough that I opened a tab on my computer and left it open all day. I refreshed it more times than I could count. Each refresh showed either the same number or a lower one, never higher. Tuesday, down again. I started Googling things I had not Googled before. Things like, is Bitcoin dead, and biggest Bitcoin crashes in history, and should I sell now? I was not looking for information, and that's when it stopped feeling like an investment. It started feeling like a mistake. I was looking for someone to tell me what to do. Wednesday. It kept falling. I worked out exactly how much money I had lost in 5 days. I did this calculation multiple times, even though the answer was always the same and always made me feel worse. I told my partner that conversation did not go well. Thursday. Still falling, I had a number in my head, the exact amount I was down. I knew it without checking, it was just there. I checked it first thing in the morning and last thing at night. I had a conversation with myself about whether I should just sell and end the discomfort. Friday. Down 30% from where I had started. 1 week. I did not sell, but it was not because I knew what I was doing. Here's the honest thing I need to say about that. I did not sell because of conviction. I did not sell because I had done the math. I did not sell because losing it permanently felt worse than watching it fall. That is not a strategy. That is just not being able to stomach locking it in. Now let me tell you what I know now, that I did not know then. That week was not unusual. It was not a sign that something had gone catastrophically wrong. Bitcoin had done this before, many times, and would do it again. The 30% drop in a week is well within the range of normal Bitcoin behavior. The volatility that made it feel like a crisis was not new information. It was the information I had chosen not to fully internalize when I read about it in advance. I had read the same charts, I had seen the same history. None of it helped when it was my money. There is a specific gap that most beginner Bitcoin content does not address honestly. The gap between knowing something intellectually and knowing it in your body. I knew Bitcoin was volatile. I had read the charts. I had seen the historical drawdowns. None of that knowledge was available to me in any useful way during that week, because experiencing a 30% loss on money that is actually yours is categorically different from reading about a 30% loss in a chart that happened to someone else at a point in history you were not part of. Here is what I wish someone had told me before I bought. The first major drop after buying is almost always the hardest, not because it is necessarily the biggest, but because it is the one where you have no personal reference point for what comes next. Every subsequent drop is easier to hold through because you have already lived through at least one and, from experience, rather than reading, that they end. The first one, you have no map, no reference point, no personal memory of what comes after. Just the drop and the silence. This does not mean you should wait until you feel ready. You will not feel ready. The drop always comes before you feel ready. What it means is that you should only put in what you can genuinely afford to leave alone, and then leave it alone, and try to give yourself permission to not feel good about it for a while. Because you probably will not, and that is fine. I bought on a Friday. By the following Friday, I was down 30%. By 6 months later, I was well above where I had bought. I am not saying that to make the story neat. I am saying it because the shape of that experience, the drop followed by the recovery followed by higher highs, is the shape of Bitcoin's history across multiple cycles. It is not a guarantee for the future, but it is the pattern that has repeated consistently enough that ignoring it would require an argument I have not heard anyone make convincingly. The week after I bought was the hardest week I had with Bitcoin, and it was also completely normal. Those two things being true at the same time is what nobody tells you, and it is the thing most worth knowing before you buy. You don't understand it until it's your money. Before you go, here's what to take away. Bitcoin dropped 30% in the week after I bought. It felt like a crisis. It was not unusual. The gap between knowing Bitcoin is volatile and experiencing Bitcoin being volatile is larger than most beginner content prepares you for. Reading about drawdowns and living through one are completely different things. The first major drop after buying is the hardest because you have no personal reference point for what comes next. Every subsequent one is easier to hold through. Only put in what you can genuinely afford to leave alone. Then leave it alone. Give yourself permission to not feel good about it for a while, because you probably will not, and that is normal. If the fear of buying at the wrong moment is what is holding you back, the dollar cost averaging video solves that problem directly. It removes the single entry point completely. Watch that next. Stack smart, stay curious. See you in the next stack.